start by following what the Vice President said. He left. What he said earlier. Most of the IDB member countries, they are export commodity driven. The economy is mostly export commodity. If you export commodity, if you export mostly commodity, you're not going to be developed. All the rich oil producing countries, they're not developed. They're rich, but they aren't developed. Qatar is richer than Korea. Brunei is richer than Germany. Who's more developed? Oil producing or Germany and Korea? Rather you be developed than you be rich. That's number one. Number two, export commodities would not make the country progress, nor make the people rich. The example are plenty. My country is one example. In just before World War II, we're the largest producer in the world for rubber, the largest producer in the world for tin. In fact, when London was bombed by the Germans, most of the money to rebuild London came from us. We were called the dollar arsenal of the empire. We were richer in relative terms than India or the British. But 50% of the people were poor. Average life expectancy is 7. Average years of schooling was 3 years. We're the largest producer of rubber, largest producer of tin. British were rich, we were very poor. We shifted. We shifted our strategy after independence in 1957. Now we one of the upper middle income countries. In fact, in GDP per capita, we are slightly below Portugal, higher than Russia. 11 years, most of the people have 11 years of education. We live 20 years longer. How do we do it? We shifted our economic strategy. We are very open economies. 130% of our trade is equivalent of 130% of our GDP. Our global value chain, we have backward and forward linkages, one of the highest in fact. And 40% of our jobs are linked to export industries, export sectors. We did a few things. One, we shifted, even among primary sectors, we were the largest producer of rubber, largest producer of tin. We shifted to better products. We shifted to palm oil. It gives you better yield, it gives you better money, and it gives you in ringgit, it gives you hedge against dollar. We are now one of the largest producer of palm oil. We were the largest, now Indonesia is the largest. Both these two countries, we control 90% of palm oil. So we shifted from low producing products to high producing products, palm oil. We also shifted from rubber and tin to oil and gas. We discovered oil and gas. But unlike other countries, we want to value add our products. We impose a very high tax of exporting crude oil, about 38%. So you better refine it in the country. Even our gas, our chemical industry is one of the biggest. So we disincentivize export of raw material. Even for our timber, now we disallowed export of timber unless you process it first. So you build factories at home. So among primary industries, we shift. And we also shift from primary industries to services and manufacturing. In 1960s, 80% of our export products were commodities. Now 80% of our products are electric and electronics. We shift, and we did a few things in facilitating this shift. One, we created free trade zones. We created free trade zone in 1972, long before free trade zone was popularized. The first customer that we get, a lot of problems when you create free trade zones. Number one, you create your industries. Number two, importantly, you create jobs. At the time when we decided to create free trade zones, we have a couple of issues. We have a very high unemployment, income very low, and employment among women one of the highest. So when you build factories, you invite all these electronic companies to come, we focus on electronics. That's why during 80s, when you look at the back of your TV, made in Malaysia. We invite all them to come, and we have access of labor. So women come and work in the factories. Men work at the time women did not work. So when women work, household income goes up, poverty come down. At the time we have a term for this woman, we call it minakaran, in English, electric woman, because they come and work in the electric and electronic sector. But it solved a lot of problems. It solved unemployment issue among women. So we created free trade zones. It helped. We also, in 1986, one of the momentous moments, we enacted a Promotion of Investment Act. So when you come and invest in Malaysia, you get a lot of incentive. We spend a lot on infrastructures, not only to invite foreign firms, but also domestic firms to invest. So you create a lot of jobs. We shifted from primary products to other high-yield products. And then at the same time, we shifted from primary to... I'll speak louder. We shifted to electric and electronics. But it did not stop there. Now we shifted again. In 2000, year 2000, 80% of our export are mostly electric and electronics. 1960, 80% export of commodity. Year 2000, 80% of export electric and electronic. Now, bulk of our export is non-E&E. We shifted not only electronics, we go for downstream of our commodities. We export a lot of chemical products. So we keep changing, but it doesn't stop there. Now, after the new Prime Minister comes in, last year, we focus on a few other things. We want to focus on aerospace. We aim to be the leading aerospace nation by 2030. Malaysia to be a leading aerospace. We already have advantage. Boeing is in town, Airbus in town, Rolls-Royce in town, big companies are in town. So we said, we have all this, why don't we become leading aerospace? What do? All the incentive structures we design to benefit aerospace. So if aerospace companies, you better be in Malaysia. So we're focusing on that. We're still focusing on E&E. We focus on medical devices. A lot of medical devices done in Malaysia. We focus on chemical. We produce a lot of chemical now. And lastly, we focus on tourism. People want to go for automobile industry. They want to go electronics. But tourism gives you a lot of advantages. It creates jobs. The multiplier is very high. One tourist come to Malaysia, it creates 12 jobs. The multiplier is very high. And give me ringgit. Why we want to focus on tourism? We look at Japan. The income from tourism in Japan is much higher than the income from automobile industry. Automobile industry in Japan is huge. The income much bigger. We also look at Korea. Somebody mentioned about Samsung earlier. Samsung have shifted now by the previous president. They want to go to animation. They want to go to culture because they realize, the president realized, President Park, the father who developed Korea, the daughter became the president. She realized America produced Jurassic Park. The sale of Jurassic Park is higher than the sale of Hyundai car. So I'm going to forget about this. I'm going to focus on creative industry. So all the money are now in creative industry. And Malaysia, we want to shift towards that. So to answer your question, how do we evolve in global value change? We keep changing. I think I stop there. I can share later what are lessons learned for other countries. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So the importance of keep on moving, importance of knowing what's coming in the future, clearly as at the center of the success of Malaysia and this transformation. And so taking now a perspective of where the future is, I would like to listen to Dr. Stacey Frederick's perspective. Where is the future going in terms of ongoing research in this area in terms of what lessons learned are coming out from countries and things that we can think of for the years of 2030 and beyond.
I think before talking about the future, it might be helpful to provide a little bit of background on the history of global value chains, and because some people might not really be that familiar with the term, or they might not really know the ways that it's used. It's become more popular. It's kind of gotten used to describe anything related to firms and trade and cross-country interactions. So global value chains really started with the academic community around the year 2000, because before that, that's right when international trade really started to take off, and there was a group of researchers that did a lot of industry-specific studies and field work in electronics and automotive and apparel, and they started to notice that offshoring and outsourcing started to become more popular, but it wasn't always just about competitive and comparative advantage.